I'm going to talk a little bit about the neuroscience of attention. And that's important in that if we're wanting to change certain things in our lives, to actualize what we want, maybe we're not where we are with where we want to go, then we need to understand how we can direct that attention to get it to where we want it to go, right? So that's the reason for understanding it from a more scientific perspective. So I'm going to start with, firstly, what is attention? So that directs the flow of energy and information. And of course, you would expect someone who's approaching it from a scientific perspective to explain it in a way that you're like, wait, what? And essentially what it is that we use attention to direct our energy, which is what we're doing when we direct our attention towards something. And it could be going to a specific object, to a person or activity, while we are tuning out other things. So we're directing our attention and working with attention when we are purposefully directing our attention. And of course, in a moment, I'm going to talk about where we are really not doing that purposefully and where we might maybe attune to as we go through our day-to-day life. So then as far as attention is concerned, it's a cognitive process. And what does that mean that it's a cognitive process? Means that in order to direct that information and energy, we want to be able to use our executive functioning skills, which is part of our prefrontal cortex, which is our thinking brain. So executive functions like sorting, prioritizing, communicating, organizing, these are all that require us to be engaged from our executive function side. So it's a cognitive process. But the other thing that is of importance here to note is that not everything that we do requires attention. So there's a thing called procedural memory, which is those things that we repetitively do become part of our procedural memory. And so they don't really require attention. This could be, I mean, we've all had this experience where we're driving our car and we are not aware of what's happening around us, right? We're like, oh, sometimes, and it also happened with me, I don't know if you've experienced that, is that I have a route that I take all the time, and then I'm trying to go somewhere else, and I almost miss where I'm going because I was so focused on, something else, and my brain was just doing its thing and going where I usually go, right? So that's part of our procedural memory. Riding a bike, we often talk about, that's procedural. We don't each time have to pay attention to what we are doing, and of course there's that saying that's like learning to ride a bike, it's always there with us. So that's important because imagine if we had to navigate life thinking and putting our attention on everything that we do. So just like our autonomic nervous system takes care of things like breathing, etc., blood pressure, so we don't have to regulate it, we also have this capacity that our brain has, that those things that we repetitively do become part of our procedural memory, and then we don't have to focus on that or put our attention on it. Now, of course, there's another side to that, which is that what are we putting into our procedural memory that we're now repetitively doing, and is that serving us? And we're not being able to understand, what decisions should I make, like a lot of decision fatigue, battling with ourselves inside about what to do this or to do that. We may be emotionally dysregulated at that point, and we also might be dissociated, which means that distraction is a form of dissociation, is a mild form of dissociation that we all experience, but dissociation in a bigger ways, like I'm going through life, I'm here, but I'm not here, which was really my experience for most of my life. Like I wasn't aware that I was going through life. So there was not that witnessing awareness factor because I was totally dissociated. And that happens when we experience trauma early on, or there's a lot of wounding that we're carrying, because our body, that's where the dissociation takes place. We dissociate with ourselves, our body, our emotions. So we might be acting it out, but we're not aware of it.